Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where you hand us your sources, and we deliver the crucial insights. We connect the dots, give you that shortcut to understanding what truly matters.
Exactly.
And today, we're immersing ourselves in a piece of philosophical writing. It's both elegantly simple and honestly profoundly unsettling.
It really is
Pierre G. Martin's Réflexions sur le paradoxe de la liberté.
a powerful piece.
It is. This deep dive, it challenges the fundamental way we think about free will. We tend to imagine freedom as this, infinite ocean of possibility.
Right.
But Martin suggests that the moment we even attempt to use that freedom, we begin to destroy it.
And that's really the core mission here, to unpack that uncomfortable truth. Martin argues that choice is, well, it's essential for a meaningful life,
Of course.
but it's also a self-consuming force. The central irony is that the moment you definitively exercise your freedom, you are actively diminishing the sheer volume of choices you have left.
He wastes no time setting that up either. He starts by defining absolute freedom as this state of pure, pristine potential. The source's initial, really powerful nugget is, celui qui ne va nulle part est libre de ses pas.
The one who goes nowhere is free in their steps. I mean, just think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
What that truly implies, it's a concept of freedom that's absolute precisely because it's completely unutilized.
So you're standing at the center of a compass.
Exactly. Every single direction is equally available to you. You possess all possible futures.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of the 0 point. It's a beautiful, idealized state, but it's utterly static.
It is.
We're compelled to move, to decide, to, participate in life. And that's where the paradox immediately starts to bite us.
Indeed. The 0 point is where freedom is at its maximum, but personal agency and achievement are at their minimum.
A sterile freedom.
For Martin, yes. This state of absolute unutilized freedom is ultimately sterile.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me. The moment you make a choice, and it could be anything, choosing a breakfast cereal or a life partner,
Right.
your freedom, which he defines as the quantity of available paths, it just begins to contract. This isn't just philosophical fluff.
No, it's mechanism.
It's the mechanism by which we engage with reality.
And he uses such a visceral analogy to describe this unavoidable contraction. Martin references classic literature saying that once you choose, your liberty shrinks comme peau de chagrin.
Like shagreen skin.
Like shagreen skin. And we really need to focus on what this literary reference means here.
No, because it's from Balzac's novel. It's this magical piece of skin that grants the user's wishes.
Right.
But every time it grants a wish, it physically shrinks. And at the same time, it shortens the user's lifespan.
That's it.
So in this context, the wish is the choice, and that shrinking skin, that's the loss of possibilities.
It perfectly captures the idea of a finite resource. You might gain something incredibly valuable, the fulfilled wish, the path you chose, but you pay for it directly.
Directly, with the forfeiture of potential. This is what Martin calls l'incontournable dilemme du choix, the unavoidable dilemma of choice.
Unavoidable.
It's unavoidable because we have to choose to function, but it's a dilemma because the choice itself is the engine of loss.
You know, if we look at this through a modern lens, this is why specialization can cause so much existential anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
When you choose a career, let's say becoming a neurosurgeon, you are actively abandoning the freedom to be 1,000 other fascinating things.
An archaeologist, a musician.
A poet, you trade breadth for depth.
And the examples Martin gives are so refreshingly clean, they just cut right through the abstract to the practical.
Yeah.
He reminds you that you can't hold two mutually exclusive states at the same time. Choosing to get married, for instance, is the definitive renunciation of the freedom that comes with being single.
It sounds so self-evident when you say it like that.
Right.
But we so often operate under this illusion that we can somehow hold on to the benefits of the roads we didn't take.
We can't. The choice to pursue one course, it categorically precludes the freedom of the other.
That abandonment is the measurable loss of corresponding freedom. And Martin makes a strong point that this realization, it has an emotional fallout. He suggests every definitive decision requires un renoncement, un deuil, une perte de liberté.
A renunciation, a mourning, a loss of liberty.
Yes.
Wait a second, calling it mourning feels harsh. We usually mourn things that were taken from us or things we lost involuntarily.
But he's saying
we must mourn the possibilities we actively destroyed through our own choice. That puts a real weight on every decision.
It does, and it raises a really important question. Why is this mourning necessary? If you don't acknowledge the loss, you're constantly looking backward. You're suffering from, buyer's remorse or...
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Exactly. Martin forces us to confront the fact that when we choose option A, we have consciously killed options B through Z.
You have to bury them.
You have to bury those paths if you want to successfully walk down the one you've chosen.
That's powerful. The pain isn't just carrying the responsibility of your choice. It's carrying the knowledge of the million roads you just consciously and necessarily failed to take.
Right.
So if choice is so inherently painful, if it shrinks our existence, then why not just refuse to choose?
And that's the critical pivot. If we agree that choice means loss, the next logical, though, deeply flawed instinct is to try and conserve freedom by avoiding commitment.
But he warns against that.
He warns that this path of eternal non-choice leads directly to possible chaos.
He is absolutely unforgiving of indecision. Coming from a philosopher, that's a very strong stance.
It is.
He says, quite clearly, that l'indécision est sans doute le pire défaut de caractère qui soit.
Indecision is without a doubt the worst character flaw.
Wow.
That is a highly judgmental claim and one we should probably pause on. Is he really suggesting that, careful reflection is a flaw?
I don't think so.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it seems like he's targeting paralysis, not prudence. He's condemning the person who has all the information. They see all the routes.
But they're frozen.
They're frozen because they are terrified of that mourning process.
That makes more sense. The fear of shrinking the shagreen skin is so great that they never make a wish at all.
And this is where he uses that incredibly vivid cinematic metaphor to show the consequence of that paralysis. He describes those who fail to choose as people who simply go adrift like a ship without a rudder, subjected to all contrary currents and shoals.
It's the antithesis of the chosen life.
Completely.
That image, it just immediately makes the abstract concept of indecision so relatable. Because in life, the result of non-choice isn't standing still.
No.
It's being violently moved by external forces. If you refuse to set your own course, the currents of circumstance, the whims of other people,
The accidental shoals of life.
they dictate where you end up.
Precisely. You sacrifice internal agency for external dictation. The person who is stuck in perpetual planning mode, always gathering more data, always waiting for the perfect option that doesn't require any sacrifice. They are, in fact, already sailing, but the world is their captain. They're just reacting, not acting.
So, the price we pay in lost freedom when we choose a direction, that's actually the down payment on agency.
That's a great way to put it.
It's the cost of asserting ourselves as the pilots of our own lives.
It is the only route to ownership. Martin insists you must choose and then stick to that choice. Sans tenir un autre choix.
Right.
The primary function of a choice, even a flawed one, is that it assures modérément d'arriver à bon port.
It moderately assures arrival at port.
Yes.
I love that caveat.
Yeah.
Moderately, it doesn't guarantee a luxury cruise or a perfect docking.
Not at all.
It just guarantees resolution. The chosen path might be terrible, the port might be a disappointment, but you reach a destination.
And that process of commitment makes the journey yours. It prevents the chaos of the rudderless ship.
So it's the difference between self-inflicted pain that leads to purpose and passively received destruction that leads to despair.
You achieve a reality rather than just remaining in a state of indefinite potential.
But let's remember the full price of that ticket to port, because this brings us right back to the pain. The resolution, the arrival, the success, it all comes at the cost of the million autres choix abandonnés. Un million d'autres destinations certainement aussi intéressantes, aussi enrichissantes.
A million other abandoned choices.
A million other destinations that are certainly just as interesting, just as enriching. This is the cruel dilemma, if ever there was one.
It is.
You achieve mastery, depth, and success in one narrow channel, only by consciously sacrificing this enormous wealth of breadth, novelty, and other potentials.
Well, that just resonates so strongly with the modern condition, doesn't it? Society today demands that high level of depth. Hyper-specialization is the route to career security and status.
Right.
But the internet, global culture, it's constantly exposing us to the million interesting paths we could have taken.
And they often look just as enriching as the one we're on.
They do.
The paradox deepens here.
Yeah.
Because if you don't specialize, if you don't commit, if you hold on to too much of that initial absolute freedom,
then you become a generalist.
A generalist with great breadth, but not enough depth to have any meaningful impact. You stay in a state of High potential, but, low yield.
What's so fascinating here is that the source essentially defines freedom as a currency. And it's a currency that you must spend, and therefore deplete, to purchase action and consequence.
So the reduction is necessary.
The necessary reduction of possibilities, that shrinking of the shagreen skin, is paradoxically the engine that allows for forward motion, for depth, for achievement in the real world.
Without that contraction.
Everything just remains theoretical.
So what does this all mean then? We started by acknowledging the pain. Freedom decreases the moment you use it.
Right.
Yet Martin guides us to a far more devastating conclusion about what happens if we try to stop this process of contraction.
He delivers the ultimate, inescapable irony. He argues that trying not to choose, that valiant effort to preserve absolute freedom by staying at that pristine 0 point.
Yeah.
It leads directly to une forme d'impuissance et donc une forme d'asservissement.
A form of powerlessness and thus a form of enslavement.
That's the ultimate penalty.
Enslavement. But if you haven't chosen a master who's holding the chains, Martin gives two pretty grim answers.
And they both revolve around that lack of internal direction.
What's the first one?
The first enslavement is to the aléas de la vie, the uncertainties of life.
So circumstance.
You become enslaved to circumstance, just battered by random events, reacting solely to what happens to you. You are powerless because you have no internal compass, no defined goal.
And the second form is even worse. Enslavement to the volonté d'autrui.
The will of others.
The will of others. So if you refuse to commit your unused freedom to a course, you determine yourself.
A vacuum is created.
And that vacuum of agency will inevitably be filled by someone else's intentions, their expectations, their demands.
Your failure to choose ensures that others will choose for you.
So absolute freedom is. It's synonymous with absolute powerlessness.
The concept is shocking because we usually associate freedom with strength, with power.
Right.
But Martin shows us that the power lies not in the infinite breadth of options, but in the focused depth of commitment.
So the only way to achieve true liberty, the power to actually determine your own destiny, is to bravely engage in that painful, unavoidable process of choosing.
And accepting.
Accepting the necessary reduction of your possibilities and dealing with that corresponding mourning for the roads you've abandoned.
That's the real takeaway Martin leaves us with. If retaining absolute freedom renders you utterly powerless, does true liberty lie not in the absence of limitations,
but somewhere else?
but in the courage to accept the mourning that comes with making the choice, and thus ensuring you, and not the current or the whims of others, determine your final destination.
Something for you to mull over the next time you hesitate at a crucial crossroads.